Happy Tuesday, everyone. We got a nice on the minute for you guys today with quite a bit of different stuff going on today. We got a little bit of movement going on. So before we get to that, let's talk about our warm-up. Dynamic triangle, 3 to 5 aside. Windmill, 3 to 5 aside. We're gonna work on just opening up that upper back and T-spine. Single leg good morning with rotation, continuing to warm up that T-spine with a little hamstring love in there. And then single leg RDL plus split assist pistol for 3 aside. So got a nice top to bottom coverage of the body, making sure things feel pretty good, and just seeing where it takes us. So we got 2 rounds of that. We're going to move into this bottom piece here, dumbbell standing march of 30 seconds, vertical power jump of 20 seconds in sets of 3. All right, so we're going to do threes, rest for 20 seconds. Deadlift practice for 3 to 5, and a humeral glide to knee push up for 3 to 5 reps as well to work on waking up that pressing strength. So, in terms of our workout today, our on the minute is going to be for 4 rounds. So it's going to be 16 minutes in total. Minute number 1, we're going to do 10 to 20 box jumps, or vertical power jump, or some sort of variation of box jump that we give you for your options. Minute number 2, you're going to take down deadlift for 10. So the loading should be something that you can hit for 10. I'd say unbroken for the majority of the 4 rounds. If you need to break it up into 2 sets of 5, that's okay, but it should be 2 relatively steady, quick sets of 5, not a long gap in between, all right, but 10 deadlifts in that second minute. Minute number 3, we have 5 to 15 push-ups, and I know that's a big range, but again, push-ups can catch up to you very quickly, so I want you guys to kind of find a number that's going to suit you the best for this work set today. Maybe you start off with 10 to 12, and by the end, maybe you're hitting 5 to 7, but still taking those numbers, hitting those good quality push-ups in that minute. And it's okay if you use most of the minute here. Give yourself at least 10 seconds to stand tall, shake your arms out before moving into our exercise number 4. In minute number 4, which is going to be a dumbbell bent row or a barbell bent row, depending on what you have access to at home, for 5 to 10 reps. I'm going to show you some different options for the bent row. So we'll check those out. You can pick which one feels most comfortable for you. But yeah, it's going to be a busy day today in the 16 minutes. So let's get you warm. Let's fire off some movement and get you ready for today. Let's get those feet under those hips. So take the arms big and tall up overhead. We're going to stretch it to one side. We're going to come back through, stretch it to the other side. Come back to center, forward fold, touching those toes. We're going to walk up those shins. We're going to come down and frame a foot. Step that foot back into your lizard. In this position, we're going to lower that back knee down. Press the hip. We're going to open up with that outside hand, nice and slow. We'll come back down. Press the hip. Open up through that low rib, nice and slow. Come back down. One more time. Press that hip and open up. Good. We'll plant that hand, grip the floor, press the heel back, step into that down dog, reaching through those hips. We're going to come back into our plank. We're going to step that other foot up. Nice and square in those hips, lowering the back knee. We'll press the hip, come through, outside hand. We'll come back down, press the hip, come back through, outside hand. Down, press the hip, come through, outside hand, lower it back down, set yourself up nice and strong, straighten out the back leg, step back into that down dog as we reach those hips. We'll come back into that plank, pressing the floor away, we'll tiptoe those feet up, and then we're going to roll ourselves all the way up, big tall stretch, little reach. Bring the hands down. Whew. Get you guys fired up. Now, pause the video, take down some gentle movement. If you have some more stuff you'd like to take down on your own, pause it, rock it, come back and join me. We're going to give you a once-over for that body. Okay, we're going to kickstart off with some dynamic triangles. So we're going to get our feet out into our sumo stance, so a little wider. Right? One toe is going to point directly to the side. The other toe is going to point off in the angle. Hips are nice and open. Hand is going to come to the thigh. We're going to screw in that light bulb, setting that shoulder in a good position, and we're going to pull that hip back in towards the heel, finding that nice hinge as we lower down. From here, we'll come back back up into that nice standing position. So again, we initiate through that hip hinge, that pulling back into our heel. That gets our body on this nice angle. Meanwhile, this arm is always reaching up to the sky, regardless of our torso orientation. Always reaching, always setting, and holding that position. Now our next movement from our dynamic triangle is our windmill, and that's very similar. We're gonna stay in our sumo stance. We're gonna screw in the light bulb overhead so we have that nice active position, pressing the hand down towards the floor. We're gonna pull our hips back and then rotate through that low rib as we get ourselves down towards the floor, as close to the floor as you feel comfortable. Now you can do 3 to 5 per side. You can switch it and do some alternating reps, but we're remembering that we are isolating the shoulder position so that as I rotate at my low rib, this shoulder moves with my torso, not at its own accordance. So we're making sure we're moving with our torso and our shoulders coming along for the ride. Once we're done our windmill, we're gonna bring our feet in under the hip. We're gonna work on our single leg good morning with rotation. So we're gonna get one heel out in front, leg is nice and straight, knuckles to the center. We're going to pull the hip straight back in that good hip hinge, rotate through that low rib towards that lead leg, and stand tall. So from the side, I get that leg straight, I get set, I pull into that hinge, feel that hamstring and glute say hello, and then rotate towards that lead leg. Don't worry if you can't touch the lead leg with that elbow. We're just trying to use it as a target. So we're trying to move towards that leg, not necessarily touch it. After our single leg good morning, we're going to stick with the single leg work and go into our RDL. So I'm going to stay facing profile so you guys can see. We're going to get ourselves into a kickstand because we're not just doing the RDL, we're going to go back and forth between our hinge and squat. So our RDL to pistol. I get myself set up, hips are nice and square. I pull my hips back into that hip hinge, coming down to my knee with my hands, and then I stand up nice and tall. From here, I draw my hip down towards my heel, keeping my weight over that balancing foot, and push primarily through that balancing leg. The kickstand leg is there to help get you through the sticking point, work on a little bit of balance, but we want to make sure we're using primarily that balancing leg. We'll go back and forth between those two movements for 3 to 5 per side, and then you'll shift over the other side, do it again, right? So for 2 rounds, what we have is dynamic triangle for 3 to 5 a side, windmill for 3 to 5 a side, single leg good morning with rotation for 3 to 5, and a single leg RDL plus foot assist pistol for 3 to 5. 2 rounds taking that down. It's going to give you a good head to toe, make sure everything feels pretty good before moving on to this next phase, which is going to get you prepped and ready for what's to come. So pause, rock it, come back and join me. All right, our next phase of work is going to kind of focus more along the lines of some movements getting closer and similar to our workout. We're going to start off with a dumbbell standing march. So you can do this with 2 dumbbells, with 1 dumbbell. You can hold them suitcase, farmers, front rack, single front rack, goblet. It's up to you on how you want to hold that dumbbell and work that march. But for the most part, regardless of how you hold the march or the dumbbell, the march is the same. We're going to shift our weight, we're going to lift that foot up as high as we can, keeping that balancing leg straight, and we're going to walk it back and forth. Working on keeping that upper body as still as we can and as stable as we can as we walk those feet back and forth. You're really going to feel that in that quad and hip, and that's what we're after. We're looking for that nice engagement through that hip and quad to get those things fired up a little bit. Now we'll try and keep that knee coming above the hip crease, but if it starts to get a little tired, can't quite get that high anymore, that's fair. But let's try and hit that same height every single time. The pacing is up to you, whatever you can maintain for 30 seconds. Now after that, we have 20 seconds of vertical power jumps. So you can do one of 2 things. You could work on the vertical power jump drop, or you could work on just nice smooth jumps. So if you're doing the jump drop drill, it's really hard to say by the way, we're gonna come up onto our toes, and then you're gonna balance for a beat, and then pull down into that power position. So in that power position, we're looking at pulling our hips back slightly, knees slightly out, soft, but at good angle in the body to get ready to do that next jump. So you can work on individual jump drops for 20 seconds, or you can work on the vertical power jump for sets of 3. So we pull into that power position, jump, rebound, do it for a set of 3. It looks like so. We swing, hop, rest a bit, do it again. Rest a bit, do it again. So we do that for 20 seconds, sets of 3. The rest length is up to you, all right? But we want to make sure we're keeping that kind of flow going, keeping those movements crisp and sharp, and moving really well within those reps. Once we're done there, our heart rate's gonna be a little bit more jacked up. We're gonna work the deadlift. So we could do a couple different versions of the dead. You can work on a barbell deadlift or a dumbbell deadlift. If you are doing a single, all right, you're gonna work on 10 total reps in the workout, so you just split it up per side. But in the warm-up here, 3 to 5, let's do 3 to 5 per side if you're using a single dumbbell. I'm gonna stand over top of my dumbbell, and you can do this with 2 as well for the first rep in your sumo position. We'll draw the hips down, we'll take that body down towards the dumbbell. Hips will be a little lower than normal, chest is a little higher because the dumbbell's a little lower. But our weight is through the midfoot. I push through those feet and stand tall. Now I can continue doing sumo deadlifts, taking the dumbbell down between my feet if I like, or if I'm using 2, I can come out into a conventional. So my hands come out to the outside, my feet come a little narrower. I'm gonna stay in that midfoot. I'll draw my hips back, lower down towards the floor in that good back position, and just make sure that I'm getting in that good hinge as I work on taking the dumbbell down as deep as I feel comfortable. Now if you're using a barbell, the hinge pattern is the same, except the barbell is just going to be slightly to the front, but that hinge position is the same. We draw the hips back, we lower down, we keep those hips a little lower than the shoulder, and we make sure that that nice back angle is nice and stable the entire time. So we have 3 to 5 reps of that, building to some working weight, figuring out what you want to do for loading today in terms of how you're feeling. You should not be getting tuckered after 5 because you have 10 reps to do in the workout. So if 5 reps is really hard, you should probably deload a little bit and make sure you're hitting a weight that you can hit for 10 straight, at least for the first couple rounds. Now from there, we move into the floor position to warm up our pressing. We're gonna work our humeral glide to knee push-up. So I'm gonna get myself into the bottom of my push-up. My hands are just outside my shoulders. I'm gonna draw my shoulders forward to where I don't want them. I'm gonna pull them back to where I do. I'll pull my ribs in, push into that nice knee plank position, maintaining tension, and I'll lower down, maintaining that chest first positioning. So I'll re-engage, shoulders forward where I don't want them, shoulders back and down to where I do, ribs pull in, good press, and good control down to the floor. Now with that humeral glide position and that knee push, I want to make sure we're coming down into that nice 45-degree position, very similar to what we did yesterday in our floor press. So we want to make sure that we're hitting those same positions because that's where that skill transfer is going to happen. Now as a quick recap, we have a dumbbell standing march for 30 seconds to get those hips fired up, vertical power jump for 20 seconds in sets of 3, or single jump drop drills for 20 seconds working on the skill. Deadlift 3 to 5, dumbbell barbell, humeral glide to knee push-up 3 to 5, working on those good skills. If you want to add in a tempo, please do be my guest. All right, it's a great way to build some extra strength and extra heat in the body. We're going to take that anywhere from 2 to 3 rounds, then we'll move into our practice round just to give you a chance to play with some of these movements, get yourself squared away with the order, and have a great time today. So pause the video, rock it. Let's continue our warm-up. All right, we've made it to the work set / practice round. So what we have for you guys is 4 rounds of work. Minute number 1 consists of box jumps. So our box jump is going to be a couple things. If you do have a box or an apparatus at home that you're comfortable stepping or jumping on, we can do one of 3 things. can work through your box jump, so getting close to the box. We pull our hips back into that vertical power position, or that power jump position, and stand tall, step down. We stay relatively close, pull, drive, stand, step down. So we can work through that nice flow. If you have an apparatus, but you're like, I'm not jumping on that thing, all right, or I'm not jumping, that's fine. We can work some steps. Nice and extended. Fully extending those legs and hips. Unloaded steps today though, we're going to keep it unweighted. We can also do a horizontal step over. So I'm nice and square to the front. My one foot's up on the box. I pop over, keeping this knee stacked over top of that heel. Trying to work on a little bit of my ankle mobility there as well, but just working that horizontal flow back and forth. Now also, if you don't have an apparatus you're comfortable stepping or jumping on, you can work on that vertical power jump that we did in our warm-up today. You can also do some broad jumps. So the broad jump, the setup is the same as a box jump, vertical power jump, it's all the same except we're jumping forward. So you'll swing, open, land in that good power position, turn around, swing, open, and land. So we're trying to land like a ninja, soft, absorbing into that good position, and then continuing on with those reps. I'll have a few other options on the workout description for you. Check those pieces, but those are some really good ones with apparatus, without. So check those out, have some fun with them. Minute number 2, we have our deadlift. We covered our deadlift pretty heavily in our previous portion of warm-up, so if we need some points of performance, scroll back, check that out. All right, but we have 10 deads. The biggest thing here is making sure we have a load that we're happy with, all right? So whatever time remaining in that minute, if we have any, from those 10 deads, we get to rest, we get to relax, and get ready for our push-ups. So our push-up minute, minute number 3, we have 5 to 15 reps. So we have 3 different variations from the floor, but if you are and have been doing push-ups on an elevated surface, please continue to rock those, building that intensity, building that engagement, building it a little bit closer to the floor, but using a back of a chair, a counter, whatever it happens to be, sofa, just make sure that that apparatus is stable and it doesn't move. Now from the floor, we have 3 options. We can get ourselves set up in our full plank position, shoulders in that nice solid active protraction, and I'm going to do lower forward and down, pushing back in to that nice plank position. Now keeping in mind we're always hitting that tripod position that we were working on in our humeral glide, so head and hands making that little triangle, so we want to make sure that we're hitting that every single time on any of these variations of push-ups. Now our next variation, you have the strength to a good lower, we just don't quite have the press while maintaining a good core position. So we get ourselves set up in our plank, we lower down, lower the knees, press to the knees, come into our plank. Lower, press, and press. So we're focusing on that good control all the way down. We drop our knees to the floor without disengaging our core. The hardest part of that movement is maintaining the core position as we lower the knees, pressing through the knees, coming back up into our toes, resetting. So we're hitting those reps each time. Our last variation is from the floor in our knee position, but we're going to establish our knee plank through our full plank. So I'm in my full plank, knees come straight down, I'm still in my good, solid knee plank. I come forward and down, and I press. Forward and down, and press. Still hitting that tripod, that stacked elbow, overhand, all that good stuff. So we want to focus on those key points of performance that we really hammer down in those humeral glide to knee push-up drills that we want to bring over into our push-ups. Now minute number 4 is our dumbbell or barbell bent row. So depending what you have access to and what you're choosing to do in your deadlift. So if you have a bar at home and you're like, I'm going to do a barbell deadlift, rock it, all right? And then use a dumbbell for your bent row. If you're like, well, I kind of want to do a barbell bent row today, rock it, do a dumbbell deadlift. So you can kind of experiment with some different things. If you're like, I got dumbbells, awesome, rock some dumbbells. So with the dumbbell bent row and the barbell bent row, the back position is going to be very similar. With the dumbbells though, we have 2 options. We can do a single arm staggered stance. So I set myself up in kind of that standing lunge position. I'm nice and square with my hips. The back leg is the same hand I'm holding my dumbbell in. I'm going to pull my hip back into this kind of knee over heel position, nice long spine, and I'm going to pull that dumbbell into my low rib. So I work on that individual bent row, and I'm going to do 5 to 10 per side, stand tall, reset on the opposite side. I can also do a hinge position, feet are even, draw my hips back, my other hand is off to the side, I pull that dumbbell into my rib, lower down, so it's straight underneath my shoulder, pull back, lower down. Now just as a heads up with the pull back, I'm not pulling up, I'm pulling back into my rib. So I'm pulling into that position, keeping that elbow relatively tight to the body, but pulling into my low rib. Another cool option for you guys to do if you have dumbbells and you want to go with 2, you can also do an alternating row. So we get our arms to the front, we let them hang out in front, we pull for 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can work on that alternating row back and forth for a total count of 10 or a total count of 20, which would be 10 per side. So we can mix and match and play with that in that 4 minutes. That alternating row is relatively challenging as well because you're stabilizing with that arm that's hanging, and that arm never really gets a break because it's always holding on to a dumbbell, so you're kind of gassing out that grip strength. So that's a very cool option as well if you'd like to experiment with that. Now if you're using a barbell, you're going to work on that good position. It'll be a 2-hand on the bar, nice hinge, and you're going to pull into that low rib, that nice back position. If at any point you feel that back position starting to waver, stand up, rest a bit, rehinge, reset the back, and continue those reps. So we want to make sure that that back position is priority focus as we're doing those bent rows in the staggered stance or the even stance. Now as a quick recap, we have an on the minute for 4 rounds, which is 16 minutes of work. Minute number 1, box jump or variation of 10 to 20 reps. Minute number 2, deadlift for 10, making sure the loading we choose, we can either do 10 straight or maybe a quick set of 5 and 5 with a little gap in between. Minute number 3, 5 to 15 push-ups. I'll have some other options there as well for you guys for those push-ups. And then we have minute number 4, dumbbell or barbell bent row for 5 to 10 reps. I hope you guys have a ton of fun with this work set, you guys. It's a lot of movement. It covers everything. You're going to be kind of all over the place with this one. So set yourself up well in your space. Have a fun time. And as always, work for quality. Enjoy. I'll see you tomorrow for a nice cardio experience. Bye, you guys.